49ers versus Rams didn't go the 49ers way. There's a lot to break down from the film. So I went through it. I'm going to break it all down in this episode. We're going to go upon further review. We're going to take a deep dive into 49ers versus Rams, what went right, what went wrong, and break it all down. Which players need to step up, which coaches were struggling. We're going to go through all that and more in this episode of 49ers Cutback.
From the alley-oop to Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Glad you guys could all join me for this episode. These episodes are always a lot of fun because you go back and you watch the film over again and you watch the All-22, and I've put offensive first half film breakdown over on Patreon. If you like watching film breakdowns, that's available on Patreon. I recorded the first half defensive film breakdown. That's going up tomorrow. And of course, I've reviewed the whole thing, but those films breakdowns are going down all week. So if you like that kind of stuff, head to 49ers Cutback Patreon. It's available in the description section. You can click over there on and get over there and check it out and have some interaction. Comment on the video, everything. Let me know what you guys are thinking. But when you're going through the film, you definitely get an idea of what things are working and what things aren't. And sometimes you can't catch it all when you're watching the TV copy and watching it live. You can't see coverages. There's a lot of things that are hard to determine. We know the base stuff, right? We know that there was mistakes, that 49ers special teams made some critical mistakes in this game. We know that there were some drops by some key players. We know that Colt McKivitz got beat by Byron Young on a pass rush that forced the 49ers to turn over the football and keep points off the scoreboard at the end of the first half. Like, those are things you know. But when you get deeper into the tape, you find out even more. You find out little mistakes here and there that maybe prevented you from getting 30 yards and you only got 3. And the reason is somebody missed a block. Or maybe it was just a great defensive call and they did a great job. Sometimes you tip your cap to the opposing team, to the opposing coach, to the opposing players for making good plays. And then sometimes you just have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what? I need to be better. And so it's a combination of those things. But looking at this game, there are so many pivotal plays in this game. Normally, when you look at it, you're like, you know what? Like last week against Minnesota, if the 49ers don't give up the blocked punt, you look at that, you're like, wow, that was huge. Brock Purdy doesn't throw the interception in Minnesota Vikings territory. Those are pivotal plays that play into the outcome. In this game, there are so many pivotal plays that end up paying into the outcome that the 49ers should have won this game over and over again. And of course they didn't. And you tip your cap to the Rams for making plays, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the 49ers left plays on the field and made critical mistakes. Whether that was a fake punt that they didn't handle well, or that was punting to a guy that can return at the end of the football game, or a deep pass interference call down the field that Isaac Yedem can't grab a player and have that happen. Or maybe it's Charvarius Ward getting beat deep, not on one, but 2 occasions. One of them hurt the 49ers, but it gave the Rams an idea of what they could do in that situation. There's a lot of things that go into this, including missed blocks and holding calls, so many pivotal. So we're going to get into that. So please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. So I've been really excited to get into it because you have the moments where you feel frustrated, especially as a fan. And I know that as a coach, when we used to lose a football game, one of the things I was the most interested in is why did this happen? A lot of times you have ideas when you're in the game, and it's more than just, oh, this guy dropped a pass or we turned over the football. Sometimes you're wondering exactly why your offensive run play didn't work, and you've designed it. You know that if it's executed correctly, it's going to work. And sometimes you have to wait until you get to the film to see exactly why it didn't work. A lot of times you have a clear picture, but we're going to get into all the whys. Things just didn't go the way the 49ers wanted. And then some cases, how they did go. So we're going to go between positive and negative. Let's talk a little bit about something hugely negative that comes out of this football game. Injuries. Javon Hargrave is now out for the season. The 49ers starting defensive tackle partially tore his tricep muscle, and he's going to be out for the year. So the 49ers take a huge blow to an interior defensive line that they were hoping they could count on as this season went on. And Javon Hargrave, the big money signing a couple years ago, is your overall penetrator and pass rusher that they were hoping was going to carry this team all the way through the season. So Hargrave's going to be out, and they're going to have to figure something out. My guess is that Jordan Elliott is going to start in the interim. You have Kevin Givens as a backup. That means they're going to have to make a roster move. What does that mean? Just going ahead and moving up a T.Y. McGill from the practice squad? It seems the most likely. So 49ers take a hit to the defensive line, and it's a huge hit because Javon Hargrave had some real good pass rush reps in this game against the Rams. He was getting upfield. He had a huge sack of Matthew Stafford. He had some other occasions where he was running down the line of scrimmage, running with Matthew Stafford, getting after running backs. There was a lot of fun things to see. Now, I did go back and watch. I saw the play where he got hurt. It's on a 4th and 1 play, and he gets injured, and you could see him hanging that arm down. And after that happened, he came off the field. Jordan Elliott went out. And then there's the play that everyone's been talking about on social media, lack of effort from Javon Hargrave. Well, guess what, guys? That was his first play back in after tearing the tricep muscle. So if you're wondering why he doesn't have a whole lot with that right arm, well, that's why. They thought it was a bruise. It ends up being a lot more for Javon Hargrave, and he's going to be out for the year. Huge hit for the 49ers. Now, Brock Purdy had an MRI on a sore back. Everything came back okay, and the 49ers are hopeful he's going to be available for practice on Wednesday. So good news for the 49ers when it comes to Brock. He took hits. He ran a lot. He was making things happen. And so Brock Purdy is okay. Christian McCaffrey, according to Kyle Shanahan, is in Germany to see a specialist about his Achilles tendonitis. Hopefully they can figure something out. To me, this makes me a little bit nervous. Of course, he could be going overseas for stem cell research or something else. I don't know. I don't want to speak to it too much, but he's there seeing a specialist in Germany. And then D. Winters, saw him out there on the field, liked what I was seeing on film. He was flying around in his first game back. Well, he's dealing with an ankle. I don't know if it's the same ankle. I didn't catch that yet. I've been busy today, but he's dealing with an ankle. Now, let's talk about Brock Purdy a little bit. I do want to talk some positive talk about the 49ers, not all negative. There were some good things that came out of this game, and Brock Purdy has to be one of those. Brock Purdy was absolutely fantastic. He was 22 of 29, I believe. Let me make sure I get the stats right because I don't want to get it wrong. Brock Purdy was 22 of 30, so that makes more sense. For 292 yards and 3 touchdowns, he had an absolutely fantastic game. Now, what if I was to tell you that he had 6 drops? That he could have easily been 28 of 30 for over 300 yards, and it could have been well over 300 yards with some of the drops that he had. So Purdy did enough in this football game to be able to help the 49ers win, and that was one of the big conversations and talking points going into this game. What would Brock Purdy look like without all of his weapons? No Christian McCaffrey, no Deebo Samuel, no George Kittle. How is he going to be able to operate this offense? And he did a phenomenal job. Him and Jawan Jennings hooked up on some big-time plays. But Brock Purdy was making things happen, whether that was with his arm or with his legs or with his mind, as he was getting the 49ers into the right looks offensively. Now, in our game plan preview, our preview show, we went over the game plan for the 49ers as far as offense. We talked a lot about the fact one of the keys was going to be Brock Purdy noticing whether they were showing too high safety look or single high safety look. If it was too high safety look, then the 49ers needed to run the football. If it was single high, he needed to take advantage of them. He also needed to run more play action this week. As Kyle Shanahan was going to dial up more play action, he had to execute, even though his back was going to be towards the line of scrimmage initially. He did. He answered those with flying colors and did a really good job. So Purdy was fantastic in this game. He made great pre-snap reads, not just the pre-snap reads of noticing too high or single high, but also like we talked about in the game preview show, being able to notice the numbers of how many guys are on the left or how many guys are on the right, and then flipping the play accordingly when it come to the run. So he came up, I see a too high safety look, I'm going to run the football, so I want to go with this play, but the running the normal play to the left, they've shifted their linebackers over there. Let's can it, let's run it to the right side, and let's get a positive gain. Brock Purdy did fantastic when it came to that. So I got to give him his kudos for understanding Chris Shula's defense, understanding Kyle Shanahan's game plan, and then putting his players in the best situation to be successful in this game. I thought Brock Purdy was excellent as doing that. He played with great poise. He was willing to sit in the pocket and throw the football, didn't try to escape too soon. And when the Rams went to 8-man drops and only brought 3 guys in pressure, he was willing to sit back there and wait forever to find an open receiver. And I know a lot of people are saying, hey, get rid of the football. But if you don't have pressure, give your receivers time to get open. How long can someone hold zone coverage down the field and not give up a window where you can throw the football? I thought that was really good by Brock Purdy. He played with poise. He normally does, but I thought it was on display in this game. And then he just threw the ball well. I mean, if you watch where the ball went, he got rid of the football on time with anticipation. He threw it on a nice line. Some vertical throws down the field. The one over the top to Juwan Jennings, I mean, right there. Even the one where he took a shot at Brandon Ayuk on the vertical where Tre'Davious White got called for holding. If Tre'Davious White doesn't hold and then commit pass interference, which didn't get called, Brandon Ayuk is catching a ball for a deep play down the field on a vertical route. Brock Purdy was willing and able to throw everything. The checkdowns, the outlets, the hot routes, the deep crossers, the vertical routes. He was in his bag and reading coverage at a high level. Very impressive with Brock Purdy. And then, of course, you get him looking off his coverage as well. So we got the big touchdown to Juwan Jennings. They're in the red zone. They've got man coverage outside one-on-one. Tre'Davious White is out there on an island against Brandon Ayuk. And that is Brock Purdy's first read. He looks over there, and Brandon Ayuk is not getting off that coverage initially. The safety sees Purdy looking over. He starts to move and vacate. Juwan Jennings works up into the end zone. Brock comes back to read number 2. Boom, touchdown. Great look on the play. Good protection by the offensive line. But that just shows Brock Purdy knew, what, read 1? Nope, not there. Read 2? Yes. And the way he looked influenced the safety, creating the open opportunity for Juwan Jennings. But Brock was going through progressions. 1, 2, 3. Oh, check down. 1, 2, 3. Outlet. Check 1. Boom. Hit. He was doing a very good job. So I was very impressed with Brock Purdy in this football game. I think he answered all the questions about how he would play without 3 of his big playmakers. And I think that he's going to continue to get better and better as the season goes. Now, I thought it was a good game plan from Kyle Shanahan, and I don't know what people will be saying, but I only go strategically on what I watched, and just the way that he went about attacking the Rams defense was exactly the way he should attack them, and it was using his strengths against their weaknesses. The problem was that it couldn't always go the way he wanted. So some of the problem was we had some issues with the guards and tight ends when it came to the kick-out block. So what happens is you get the edge outside linebacker, and they want to come down the line of scrimmage and try to squeeze plays down when you get a zone look going away. The 49ers want to pull their backside guard and then either take Kyle Juszczyk or Eric Saubert and bring them behind it. They want to kick out that outside linebacker. Then they want to wrap inside with that other player, Jennings or Saubert, and get up to the second level onto a linebacker. The problem was you got to give some credit to Verse and Byron Young. They were highly aggressive on coming downhill and getting there before our guys could make contact. Now, here's my issue with it. Those guards got to be able to destroy those defensive ends who are lighter weight, more athletic guys. They've got to be able to get a push and a kick, wrap that other guy up, and then that'll allow him to get to linebacker so Jordan Mason has space. If that would have happened, you could have easily tacked on at least 50 to 75 yards in the running game for Jordan Mason if they would have been able to execute that play consistently. But Kyle Shanahan called the plays, and unfortunately, Aaron Banks, he struggled with it. Dominic Pooney struggled with it, and sometimes Eric Saubert struggled with it as well. Those were real issues. And so I do give credit to the Rams for playing it tough. I do, though, say that those guys need to be a lot better at it. Now, I also give credit to Kyle Shanahan because it wasn't working. And even though it should work, you could easily just say, you know what, this should work. You guys go out there and execute. He changed his blocking assignments in the second half and allowed it to where Kyle Juszczyk was hooking those guys and the 49ers were going to run on the outside and actually started running outside of that, using their aggressiveness against them, allowing them to fly inside, kicking them down and running outside. Jordan Mason had some significant carries on plays like that. So you got to give credit to Kyle Shanahan. It was a good game plan. They executed well. The first two drives were fantastic, and they should have really scored more points in this football game. Some errant plays by the 49ers, some key holding calls definitely presented some problems, but also you look at the Colton McKivitz sack, and we'll talk about that in a second. The strip sack. 49ers don't have that happen. Brock Purdy's throwing the football to Brandon Ayuk over the middle. He's open. 49ers are in field goal range. That's an opportunity for 3 points at the end of the half, 17-7. Then in the fourth quarter, Jake Moody has a 55-yard field goal that he misses. That is also an opportunity for a field goal. 49ers scored 24 in this game. Just in those two opportunities alone, it could have been 30. If you score 24 points in a game, you should win. Just saying that. But I thought overall Kyle Shanahan did a really good job calling plays and the overall design of what they were doing to attack the Rams. Our defense was really good. Him and Brock Purdy were working together. Unfortunately, there were some other issues with this football team. Let's talk about Juwan a little bit. Dude was a beast. Dude was an absolute monster in this game. Juwan Jennings goes 11 catches, 175 yards, nearly 16 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns. The big long one, the 34-yarder that Brock hit him with. So he had 12 targets. He had 1 drop in this football game, and that was a tough one. They were making it look like a screen. They ended up, creating and going up to run like a slant, and he gets contacted by Jared Verse out in space, and so he wasn't really expecting that. So, but he had himself one heck of a game. Brandon Ayuk had 5 for 48. Eric Saubert had 2 for 41, including the big 20-yarder down the field. So those guys had themselves some pretty good games catching the football. But Juwan Jennings, the Moss catch, reaching over Carnell Lake, bringing it in with one arm. Juwan Jennings was that dude in this game. He played with his hair on fire. Absolutely fantastic. Not just third in Juwan, he was third in every time, or Juwan, everything in Juwan. He did a really good job in this game. Very much excited about Juwan moving forward, and I thought he did a good job at the Z play. Brandon Ayuk, I thought he had an okay game. I think that there's still some times I talked about the one where Brock comes back to Juwan. You got one-on-one with Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk can't lose that. He's got to win one-on-one reps. There's another one he had one-on-one on the outside with Cameron Curl, and luckily for the 49ers, Cameron Curl held him. But that's one-on-one with the safety. Ayuk's got to be able to win and get outside on a route, and I get it. There's a little bit of contact, illegal contact at the top of the stem, but I'm just not seeing him generate as much pressure enough space as I'm used to. And so I'm still waiting for Brandon Ayuk to have more space and create more space. And right now he doesn't look like he can. How much of that is no training camp? We heard, Trent Williams had talked about the fact that training camp and not having it was a real problem for him. So maybe Ayuk's in the same category, but he's just not winning enough one-on-one looks right now. He has too many drops this season. He had 2 drops in this football game. He had the first one where it appears the ball's thrown behind him. It is my belief that he should have sat down there in the zone. When you read his zone, you sit down, catch the football. You would have been fine. He ran through the zone a little bit. Ball's behind him. I think that should have been a catchable football. The other one, he's got Tre'Davious White coming with him across the middle of the field. Brock Purdy rolls out. He throws the ball. Yes, the ball's a little bit more inside than it should be, but it gets into his numbers and into his chest, and he drops the football. And so that's a catchable football, especially for a guy that's your number one wide receiver. That was on a third down play. Could have been a first down, another scoring opportunity potentially for the 49ers, because that would have got them into field goal range. But instead, they were forced to punt. So you see these plays and you're like, man, we're leaving plays and leaving drives on the field, and some of it with Brandon Ayuk. Now, Ronnie Bell, he struggled in this one, guys. I mean, he just struggled. He had 3 drops in this football game, including the one, down the sideline that it would have basically put this game on ice. It hit him in the hands. He's got to make the catch, and he didn't. So I'm not gonna bury this guy. He had a bad game. He had another one that would have went for a first down on an inside move. Could have had the play there. He had another drop on a comeback route. It just wasn't a great performance for Ronnie Bell. We're not getting NFL, caliber play from him right now. 49ers like him, so we'll see what happens. We'll see, what comes in the future. We saw no Jacob Cowing in this game. 49ers haven't been willing to put Cowing out there. And let's see, maybe Terrace Marshall could be elevated for the Patriots game. We'll see what happens with him. How far along is he in his development in this offense? But by the time we get to the Cardinals in a couple weeks, Deebo Samuel is supposed to be back, and Ricky Pearsall is eligible to be reinstated from the NFI. So we've got some opportunities here for the 49ers to bring back Pearsall and also get Deebo back, and that could mean more opportunities, or less opportunities for Ronnie Bell when it comes to getting on the football. 49ers run game wasn't as effective as it should have been, and I brought this up earlier with Banks, Pooney, and Saubert and Juice. I thought that, it just wasn't as effective because of them, but also because of Jake Brendel. And it's unfortunate. Jake Brendel he had a few plays in this game that he wants back, run plays that could have went for big plays that he either overran or just wasn't able to maintain his block. And that's unfortunate, but they're just not getting really great play right now from Jake Brendel. And I don't know, maybe the knee tendonitis is bothering him. Maybe this is just who Jake Brendel is. I'm not sure, but I know they need more consistency from Jake Brendel at the center position. And I don't think they got it in this game, especially when it came to run blocking, which normally him on the second level, he gets there and does a pretty good job. And I thought it didn't always work out for him in this game. So that was a little frustrating to watch. Colt McKivitz was good in his run blocking, minus a couple reps. There's one where 49ers had it schemed up and lined up perfectly. You had Dominic Pooney and Colt McKivitz. All they got to do is win their blocks, and Jordan Mason's going to run for a long time. And neither one of them were able to maintain their blocks. Rams win on those and get off. And then, of course, we know Colt McKivitz, he got smoked by Byron Young on that pass play. So just to explain exactly what happened, he's in his normal kick slide. He's got good protection. He's got good weight distribution to the inside. This is one of the better sets I've seen Colt McKivitz have. Byron Young gives him an inside move. We know Colt McKivitz is susceptible to the inside move. He slowed up his slide, leaned in even further, got off balance, and then you got a very talented Byron Young as far as speed. He started going back upfield. When he did, he came across with a arm down motion and hit him down. So he went ahead and broke down with the axe move. And then he came across and he hit and swiped the wrist of the up arm, which was the right arm, pushed it back, got wrist control, and then threw a rip. It was a great move. So it was hammered down, wrist control, rip, just like you're supposed to do it. And he beat him bad. And on that play, like I brought up, Brandon Ayuk was open over the middle of the field. Could have been a huge play. So that's unfortunate. The 49ers missed George Kittle in blocking as well. Staubert's a good blocker. Not as good as Charlie Warner. Not as good as George Kittle. So they definitely missed him in this game. I thought Saubert did a good enough job. I don't want anyone to think I'm being hypercritical of him. I even thought there was some good reps from Jake Tunges as well. But you're not getting the same movement on the edge that you would normally get with George Kittle or with Charlie Warner on the field. So let's flip it to defense. I know we went on offense a little bit, but defensively, the Rams came out in a lot of 12 personnel, which is something they didn't do the entire season. They're an 11 personnel team, and they went 12 personnel, which means, one running back, 2 tight ends, and they're normally one running back, one tight end. So it was a different look for them. They came out with the intent on getting Demetrius Flanagan fouls on the field. The thing that I've been talking about is a problem for the 49ers right now, and they went out there to attack that, and they looked to attack him in the running game. And then when they had that base 4-3 look out there, they were attacking DFF in the running game and trying to attack Devondre Campbell in the passing game. So 49ers, by the time you get to the second half, Nick Sorensen makes the adjustment, and he just pulls DFF off the field, and the 49ers go with their nickel package, even against 12 personnel, and they've got De'Amara Lenore in there helping play run defense. So 49ers just recognized that was a weakness and moved forward and didn't think they were losing a whole lot having DFF off the field in run support compared to having the extra cornerback. I think it helped them when it came to pass defense, and maybe, it wasn't as bad when it came to run defense. So I thought that was something that watching the game film I saw, but a nice adjustment by Sorensen. Now, Campbell had the bad pass interference call. We've got to look at that. You've got to make sure you turn your head around. If he turns his head around, he's going to make the play. It wasn't a great throw. It's just the fact that you've got Devondre Campbell in space. The fact that he was right there on top of the play, I can't hate it, right? My problem is the execution of. Do you want Devondre Campbell one-on-one with the tight end? No. But it wasn't like he was in bad position. He's where he should be. It's like Isaac Yedam's pass interference call. He's where he should be. He's just not executing and finishing the play. Campbell, unfortunately, gets stuck in that play. Not good. Not a great place to be in. But that play is going to be highlighted and haunt the 49ers. And, of course, it's compounded by being in a tough situation by the punt return. Then when you talk about the touchdown that he gave up to Kyren Williams, it's a great look by Matthew Stafford. So Matthew Stafford comes to the line, and he sees that he's got Fred Warner on his right side over here, and he's got Devondre Campbell on the left. So he moves Kyren Williams to the left. When he does, he knows that with the zone coverage the 49ers are running, he's going to get basically Devondre Campbell pretty close to one-on-one with what you're getting with Kyren Williams. And so what he does is he gets that look that he likes, and then Kyren Williams is running a choice route, and he gets him. He runs an outside type leverage play. He gets Campbell to move outside because Campbell wants to force things in where he's got more help. Hufanga's the deep high, single high safety, and this is in the red zone. And so he does. He stems him to the outside, and then he breaks inside. I know a lot of people call it the Texas route. Basically, that's what ends up happening. He stems him inside with the choice route. He can go inside, outside. He goes inside, makes the catch. He's able to get inside of Fred Warner, who was playing the zone on the other side, and then he jumps over the top of Hufanga for the touchdown. That's a tough place to put Devondre Campbell in, but it's also not a bad coverage scheme because in the grand scheme of things, you're trying to take away other players, and you're hoping that Campbell takes away the outside leverage. Hufanga can help deter the play from going in the inside, but Matthew Stafford, pinpoint accuracy, great throw, and they're able to finish. So I get it from Sorensen's point of view, and then Devondre Campbell, I don't know how many linebackers in this league can cover Kyren Williams one-on-one in space. Maybe number 54 for the 49ers. I think he could have done it. I've seen D. Winters cover Christian McCaffrey in space, but Winters dealing with an ankle. Who knows if he'd have been available. But that's part of the issue. Maybe you could figure something out, down the road, but that's tough to put a linebacker, in that situation. I didn't think Campbell had terrible coverage. If you watch it, he's almost within an arm's distance of him. It's just tough. I think, if you could have got Fred in that situation, Fred's definitely the better player to be in it. But that sucks. It might be time to get D. Winters in nickel sets if he can stay healthy. So 49ers, what they might do is play Devondre Campbell on base sets or even nickel sets where they've got, potential run downs. And then go ahead and put D. Winters in on obvious pass downs. I thought he did a good job working on tight ends and stuff in this game. It wasn't a huge sample size, very limited. But we'll see what the 49ers do. They got to figure out something. I don't think it was terrible for Campbell, but he definitely had a couple plays that he struggled on. So the 49ers got to just try to get better. Isaac Yedam, he's just not having success in man coverage. It's been a problem for him. And so I think it was on display again. Now he gave up 5 catches for 54 yards on 5 targets. Some of those were in zone where he made the tackle right away underneath. The man coverage, though, he struggled. Gave up a big play over the middle of the field where he allowed separation. They were in bunch, and really there wasn't a huge excuse for him getting beat that bad in coverage. So there's definitely some things that he needs to get better at. And maybe the 49ers do look at Renardo Green or Rock Yassin. But it could be that they just need to tailor the defense better for Isaac Yedem and not run as much man coverage, because he's just not as good as we were hoping he was going to be. And then, of course, that pass interference down the field was a huge pivotal play. The Rams didn't move the football at first in the second half. Then you get the vertical down the field, and he's in position. Like I said, he's running stride for stride. All he has to do is turn and get his head back and keep his hand on his hip down below, hand on, get that, get his eyes around, and that ball was not getting caught. And that was a huge mistake and a pivotal play in this game that really hurt. Mooney Ward, he can't get beat by Tutu Atwell in that situation. He just can't. Of all things you can't allow to happen, it's a deep vertical in that point of the game. You are up 7. You can't get beat on a vertical. You just can't. And so I don't know exactly what he was doing. He bid on one earlier in the game too. Demarcus Robinson cooked him. And I know a lot of people said, hey, Jair Brown's got to be over the top. Well, they're running a cover 6. So Jair Brown is not supposed to be over the top. Charvarius Ward is, but he stumbled and almost fell. And I think that's why the Rams went back to it later. They had an opportunity earlier. This time they put Tutu Atwell and went at it. The first time it was Demarcus Robinson. Well, I don't know. I mean, Mooney Ward, we've seen him get beat deep in the past, but I thought this one was very frustrating that he got beat deep, because of all the guys that you're expecting to be able to put in every situation, it's your all-pro cornerback, and he should be able to handle business. It hasn't been all bad, but there's been moments that haven't been good from Mooney. And you know what? I got to keep into account he was dealing with a hamstring and a knee this week, and so maybe that's part of it. But to me, I think he's peaking in the backfield a little bit too much, as far as my own personal opinion from what I watched. It was nice seeing Huff back, though. I think that, Huff looked good. He got a tackle on his first play. First play of the game, 49ers unique look, 5-man front. They bring Hufanga in the box, and him and Fred Warner are the two guys lined up as linebackers. And they get a positive run play, the Rams do, but Hufanga made the first tackle after a gain of 6. I thought he looked good in this game. I think he's going to get better and better and better the more comfortable he gets in this, being back on the field. Bosa, Hargrave, and Collins made great pass rush moves. I thought good things from all of them. Of course, Hargrave, he's going to be out now. I did see a good pass rush move from Kevin Givens, too. He also had a really good swim move in this game. But Bosa was threatening from the outside, and the other two were consistently threatening from the inside. It didn't always work out about getting Matthew Stafford down, but I liked what I saw from them. I still want to see more from Leonard Floyd. Teams have been having some success keeping Leonard Floyd from getting any pressure on the quarterback. I thought in week 1 he looked good, but since then it's been a little bit more stagnant. I like to see them figure it out. Of course, on one of the plays on my breakdowns, when you guys see the defensive film breakdown, you'll hear it. He just completely gets held by Kyren Williams. I mean, Kyren Williams literally just grabs him. It's insane. There's actually one, because people know how I am about DFF, but Flanagan Fowles literally got tackled on a play too. Literally tackled by a wide receiver. It was crazy. And it was at the point of attack too. They just missed it. So overall, I like the game plan from Nick Sorensen. I think that, you looked at it, especially the first half game plan, they were literally a fake punt away from shutting the Rams down in the first half. That happens around the 6-minute mark. If they get that punt, and it was 4th and 6, they did their job. If they get that punt, the 49ers go down the field, and in all reality, the way the Niners were moving the football in the first half, especially, there's a likelihood the Rams never see the ball again at the end of the first half, or for the end of the first half, and the 49ers go up, even if it's 14-0, but it's a shutout for the 49ers in the first half. That's how close they were. I can't put that on them. So a good game plan coming in. I think key penalties and big explosives down the stretch are what really hurt them. The Isaac Yedem penalty, that put him in a bad situation. The Renardo Green holding in the end zone. If he doesn't get called for holding, that forces a 4th down situation for the Rams. I think that one hurt. The explosive down the field over Charvarius Ward, that was, critical. Were there bad calls by Nick Sorensen in this game? Yeah, he did not call a perfect game. I don't want anyone to think that. I thought it was a good game plan coming out. In the first half, I had a couple of calls where I was critical of what he did, getting man coverage and bringing a blitz at a wrong time. But there were also brilliant ones where there was one play, he brought a run blitz from De'Amar Lenore and in a nickel package, and he literally blew up the play coming on the inside in the C gap. So there were some bad ones, a couple here and there, yes. There was also some brilliant ones, and I thought it was really good. There's some things to like, and I know you're going to hear a lot of people say that Nick Sorensen's the worst, and he's not the best, and that's okay. I can't get on board with that because I watched the film, and these are the things that I see. There are always things to get better at, for sure. But I thought that there was a lot of good in this football game from what he was calling, and I think there's a couple of 49ers players making plays away from this being consistently different look from the 49ers defense. So I think that the game felt a lot worse than it was for Nick Sorensen. Now, special teams just wasn't good, guys. It just wasn't good. You just had too many mistakes on special teams. It started with the fake punt. That was not a good look. You've got to be better at it. You've got to be prepared. You can't allow that to happen. You're up 14. You've got to think something's going to happen with the Rams. I know 4th and 6, usually it's 4th and 5 and in, but that's close enough. They were close enough to midfield that it made sense for them to go ahead and give it a try. You've got to be more prepared for it. I thought that was not as egregious as what we're going to talk about, but pretty bad. The most egregious to me when it comes to special teams is actually the punt at the end of the game, the last punt of the game. Mitch Wishnowsky, I don't know if he was asked to do this or what he was asked to do, but he's got to punt that football where it either lands at the 1 yard line or it lands in the end zone. You are kicking it so it goes deeper, not shorter. It landed outside the 10, and he had a chance to return that punt. That can never happen. So you're either punting it, and hey, there's a good chance it's going to land in the end zone, and we're okay with that, or I'm punting it out of bounds. But never do you allow that guy to get a return and flip the field and change that game. If they have to start at the 20-yard line, they've got to beat you for 45 yards to get in field goal range. If they do that, you tip your cap and you say, you know what, good job. They don't have timeouts. They're going to have to move the ball expeditiously, but you could play coverage underneath. The problem is 49ers didn't do that. They allowed a return to near midfield. Now they're one pass interference call away, which they got on Devondre Campbell from being in field goal range and ending this game. And it starts with a bad call right there. So if Coach Brian Schneider did not tell him to kick it out of bounds or kick it in the end zone or make it so it's very tough, that's on Schneider. If Schneider did tell him and Mitch Wishnowsky did not execute, that's on Mitch Wishnowsky. And we don't know for sure what it was, but that's what I'm telling you. And so that was the most egregious. And I know Jake Moody missed a field goal, and that's unfortunate because Jake Moody's got to nail that field goal in that situation and put the 49ers up again 10. That would have changed this football game. But as you can see, pivotal plays on special teams. That's 3 bad special teams plays. That's 1/3 of your football team. Changed the complexion of this football game. Now, there was plenty of mistakes to go around between special teams and defense, but special teams, you eliminate those 3 right there, and the San Francisco 49ers walk away with a win in this football game. So I try not to be hypercritical of people, but those are things that you just can't excuse. If I was a coach, I never would have been willing to make those kinds of mistakes. Those are just well-known things you can't do, especially the punt at the end. That's why I said it's the most egregious. You just can't let it happen. And I know you want to pin them back deep. That's great. Maybe you get to overtime, but is it worth the risk? And I just don't think it was. And they made a huge play and left the defense with no margin for error. And that's it. They killed this defense twice with those situations. And we'd be talking about this game entirely different if they wouldn't have made those mistakes. So the 49ers fall and they lose. And there was a lot of things in this game that they definitely want back. And now they've got to go back and they've got to try to fix it. They got to put together good game plans. They're playing a different football team. So this was a pun for the review. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe. Just give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.